What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations.
Something's got to separate you from the rest. So you got to be willing to do whatever.
In my experience, Black men have struggles like having community with each other.
But she represents the mammy stereotype.
Now that was epic. I needed that. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. Let me just do something here. I don't like what's going on. That's better. I like that better. All right. I am 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team, our team has reached out to over, you know what? I'm being very fussy today. There's better. We've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're going to go for a quick break, and we're going to have a new, as I fiddle around with my lighting, and it's funny, our new friend, he asked me before we went on, is my lighting okay? Is this okay? And here's my lighting giving me nonsense today. So this, so maybe he put it on me. Okay, we're good with that. We're good with that. All right. So when we come back, we'll be introducing you to a new friend to the Dr. Vibe family. If you like music and if you love jazz music, this is a place to be. Larnell Lewis is going to come on and break it down. And when I had a chance to read some of his bio, he's played with some of my favorite artists. So I'm going in. I'm going in on the conversation today. So we'll be back in about 30 seconds with an epic conversation with Mr. Larnell Lewis. Here we go. Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real and filtered conversations about life, culture, and community. Brothers, what is up?
A lot of kids just there just have no engagement whatsoever. They're literally just letting the days go by and they're not advancing what they need to know.
We really don't give enough credit to how much impact our unhealed trauma has on the future generations.
I realized what we were doing had a great impact within our community.
Yes, you can catch it Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Black Men Can Talk with myself, Paul Osborne, and Kofi Morris. We have conversations that are relevant from a Black Canadian man lens. Before we get started, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. As I mentioned, we have a brand new friend on the Dr. Vibe Show today. So let's talk about him. I don't know where to start. It's like there's so many accolades, and big shout out to Deo Media and Communications. Ariana, thank you for making this happen. So let's see where I'm going to start, what I'm going to share about him. I don't know. Okay, let's just start. Larnell Lewis, in addition to his work as a leader and with Snarky Puppy, he has performed and toured with the globe with some of the best known names in music, including Gregory Porter, Kurt Elling, I know that name, Lalah Hathaway, I know that name, Jules Buckley, the Metropole Orkest, Pat Metheny, which is one of my all-time favorite artists, Jacob Collier, Laila Biali, just so many. And he's a dedicated music educator of music at Humber College. Actually, I went to Humber College for a year, Canada's most respected institution for post-secondary music education. He's also served as the musical director at the Toronto International Film Festival premiere, critically acclaimed documentary Quincy, directed by Rosita Jones and Al Hicks, where he led performances by another fave, Shaka Khan, Mark Ronson, and Yeba Smith. He connects worldwide through his fan base of almost 500,000 followers online. There's so much we could talk about with him not being on the screen, but that's not fair. Let's get Larnell to represent himself. And he's going to here to represent himself. What is up?
I'm doing well. How are you?
As I said off screen, blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. What's going on in your world today?
Oh, everything is awesome.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I know you got a good laugh with me getting my tech in order. So you got me.
Amen.
You got me. You got me. Well, I'm looking forward to the conversation today in so many aspects. But what we like to do with new friends that come on the show, tell us about the early Larnell before he became the global Larnell.
Okay. The condensed version of the early Larnell is coming from a line of musicians as far back as I know of to my great grandfather on my dad's side. We are all musicians, and I started in the church. I started playing drums at the age of 2, and I continued through middle school playing a lot of music, high school for the arts, Mayfield Secondary School specifically. And then I went to Humber College. And from there, I've been teaching at Humber now for about 16 years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A lot of touring, a lot of recording, producing, and basically mentoring and bringing up the younger musicians and really anyone who's willing to hear stories of my experience. So
nice. Nice. Do you remember your first musical performance?
Vaguely, yes. I have kind of 3 in mind, and they're a little far, but the first official performance I had, I was roughly about 4 years old. I played with the choir in church. Fast forward, I had done a performance where I was subbing in as a drummer at age 7 for a televised performance. Yeah. That was pretty intense to have to get that music together. But it was, it was commonplace, especially with the environment that my parents had brought me up in.
How much, you've mentioned the lineage of family in your musical journey. How much soul of your family is part of you today when you perform?
Oh, so much of that soul, that experience, that, nurture and nature, that goes into my music. It's a really huge part of it for me. Being of Caribbean heritage, my parents are from St. Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean. And, the way that I learned music while having formal training was to be amongst people making the music. And so again, coming from a line of musicians on my dad's side, we would get together quite often with my uncles and my aunts, and there's just a ton of instruments around, there's food around, and we are making music and having a great time. And so that feeling is something that I always try to bring when I play the drums and make music in general.
Being of Caribbean heritage, we always like to bring up, especially new friends, was it any challenge or pushback from the heritage when you said, I wanted to do this as a career?
Okay. All right. You said this is gonna be a conversation.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna talk.
Okay.
All right. So for me, as far as the pushback, it's not your typical pushback, but it was a reminder with some reinforcement that having a backup is very important. Because it would be a bit of double speak if my dad saw me getting into music and then said, don't play at all. So, I think my parents wanted the best for me. And what that really looked like was just making as much money as possible, not having to work multiple jobs, not needing to be in any particular, financial situation, and just being as well off as, any parent would want for their child. But I think them seeing the passion, the dedication, the accolades, the response, you get every now and again I see Johnny over there. Johnny's doing this. How come you're not doing that kind of stuff? But it's, it's all love at the end of the day. But yeah, there was just a little bit.
Okay. Want to shout out Frequency Event Promotions. You like that question. The Frequency of Event Promotion says greetings and also says, this gentleman is a great drummer.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
There you go. Then let me lead then. Who were some of your early musical influences, and how did they shape your drumming style?
Mm. Well, for me, for sure, my dad is one of my biggest musical influences from the beginning and still to this day. You know, we get on the phone, we talk about music all the time, talk about, ways of thinking and being. Another person who's really influential on my drumming and music making is my brother, Ricky Lewis. Shout out to Ricky. For those that do or don't know, my brother's an incredible drummer as well. And he's actually the drummer for The Weeknd.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
we
Okay.
we are very serious about our music over here.
Mhm.
Um, and then of course I have my top 5, which is really a top 50, but the highlights would be Dennis Chambers,
Oh,
you know,
go. That's your
right?
5. Okay. Maybe you should
Right.
say no specific order, but go.
Hey, so Dennis Chambers, Calvin Rogers, a gospel legend, right? Um, my goodness, Brian Blade is for
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Haven't
really,
heard
really.
that name in a minute.
Yes, he is still crushing. Of course, Terilyn Carrington, who's
Oh,
also
I've
incredible.
got vinyl by her.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
and Dave Weckl as well.
Chick Corea Band, Dave
Yep,
Weckl Group,
yep.
GRP days.
You know it, yeah,
I,
totally.
I'm short little story. Well, make it really short. I was given by a friend in the music industry at that time every GRP CD for the first 3 or 4 years of the label for free.
Whoa, that's a collection, man.
and and if we ever get a chance, I have to introduce you to my dad, because my dad is a member of the Vinyl Record Collectors Hall of Fame,
Really?
and he toots me of introducing him to the genre of smooth jazz. He had not heard anything
Wow,
about it, and he said, "Bam, bam, bam."
that's incredible. Okay, I like
Yeah,
that.
yes. And Frequency Repo says, "Do you know Gerald Hayward?"
Absolutely. Not personally, but I mean, he's on my list of people because I mean, if you're talking about Gerald Hayward, Eddie Hayward, you know, I mean,
You weren't
the
expecting this with this conversation today, were you?
no, man, and your audience is incredible. I mean, if you're bringing up Gerald, that's like OG, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about like who he's played for, who's MD'd for. Yeah, I mean, that's going back, Hezekiah Walker, for me, like early
Yeah.
days, like, late 80s. Gerald, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Blackstreet, yeah.
Okay. Okay. You've covered it a little bit, but growing up in a musical family, how did that environment contribute to your development as a musician?
That's a great question. For me, it was really about access to instruments, you know? So having instruments around like this, right? It's very much like commonplace in terms of just it being around and being able to tap it, listen to what it does, play an idea, connect to it. And so, my dad allowed me to just be free. And then came the lessons. So there was some structure, but then they started to understand what my ear was like. And so, again, looking for mentors, looking for people, he brought me around everywhere there was music, anytime he could. And so, again, that gave me the access. It wasn't what a lot of people had, but, my dad was performing and recording with a lot of people, doing music of his own as well. And if I'm his sidekick at that point. So from age like 5 or 6, he's getting me on stages to do drum solos and playing and whatnot. So it really did help me to be in an atmosphere like that where I could just be near instruments and feel at home.
A Frequency of Band is going in saying, "Would your guest says he likes playing in the pocket."
Absolutely, 100%. And the idea of pocket's really interesting too, because some people categorize playing in the pocket as being really simple, right? Meat and potatoes, just keeping it like down the middle, so to speak. But really, a pocket is a groove. It's a space, and if you know where the spaces are, technically you're playing in the pocket. So to me, playing in the pocket is supporting the music. It's not getting in the way of the important information that's being relayed, like the melody, the lyrics, certain harmonic things happening structurally. And it just helps to just solidify what's going on, package it, and really present that excitement of whatever was intended by the composer. Oh,
Another conversation piece for you here. One of the, in my opinion, one of the most famous moments on the internet is you learning a snarky puppy song on the spot and absolutely nailing it.
thanks.
Can you walk us through what was going on in your mind during that experience?
Okay, so the album, if you're referring to the record, was We Like It Here. We recorded it October 2013, and it was in the Netherlands. And I got a call 2 days before. I was already scheduled to be recording with the Toronto Mass Choir on the Saturday. And so they wanted me to fly out right away, and I couldn't. So I said, I got to fly out on the Sunday. They said, okay, that's fine. We start recording that day. That works for us. So, got the material, focusing on Toronto Mass Choir, get on the flight, start learning the songs. 7-hour flight, 7.5 hour flight. I normally go to sleep. Like for me, as soon as we're about to take off, I'm asleep. Right? But this, I was just so focused on the music, trying to really get my head around the material, trying to understand how to, again, be in the pocket, right? Make the music feel good. As soon as I land, another song is in my inbox. Thank God for the internet. And then, it took a while for me to find my driver. So I was going to listen to the music, 2-hour drive to the studio, get in, 4-hour rehearsal, eat some lunch or dinner, and then 2 performances. We did 2 a day, but that day we did, the first 2 in front of an audience of about 60 or so people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that started the madness that is the legend of this album. We Like It Here.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I know time is fleeing by so fast. So hopefully you can come back for another chat, but I want to transition to the new album, Slice of Life.
Yeah.
Especially one of the tracks, Hide and Seek. Give us some background of that album, of that track, and how it relates to the importance of fatherhood in your life.
Okay, so Hide and Seek is a song that is really giving a bit of a background to, trying to share that feeling of what it's like to play hide and seek with my kids. And when you hit play on the album, which, here it is, when you hit play on the record, the first thing you hear is my daughter saying, Daddy, can we play hide and seek? And, she was really, right now she likes to play hide and seek, but it's not as fun as, doing a bunch of other stuff. But at the time, that's all she wanted to do. And she was terrible at it. We're talking, she'd be hiding behind the curtain giggling, or if we bring her on tour, she'd be under a glass table saying, okay, you got to find me. And I could just see her right there. And so it's just that idea of remaining playful, the innocence of being a child and just getting into their world, getting down to their level and just playing and just being excited about being in this thought and in this vibe. So, yeah.
What makes the Slice of Life experience different than anything other music-wise you've done?
Well, this collection of stories or songs for me is really a snippet of what my life has been like as a dad, and just transitioning over the last few years into the person I am today. And, the first record I did was really about getting myself out there. It had a lot of different sounds, a lot of different styles. It was very much, hey world, here I am. And the cool thing is that record was also nominated for a Juno, which was incredible. And that was 2019. And so now to have this particular album get the spotlight is just great. And really, it's just, again, a snippet because I'm always in transition onto the next thing. So I just decided to take a snapshot of where I was, a snapshot of the way the band sounded. The band that I have is incredible. And I wanted everyone to hear what the band sounded like. I wanted everyone to hear what I sounded like. I wanted everyone to know these stories and to kind of hear my songwriting and how it's developed. And so it's really about a snapshot of now. And when the time comes, I will take another snapshot and just continue to just put these snapshots out.
I also want to congratulate you on the nomination for a Juno Award, and for our international audience, it's Canada's version of the Grammys. When you received that information, what was your first reaction?
Oh man, like whoo, like celebration, like just really quick victory. Like, the amount of submissions there are in a year is incredible, and to have my album, pass through the hands of the voting committee and for them to see value in it, in terms of the production, in terms of the songwriting, in terms of like all parts that are, that make up this record, and then to say we're going to shortlist this for the nomination is like, that's just incredible to be recognized. And so, yeah, my first immediate thought, because again, like the way they did it this year was a little different too, where they just put all the nominations up right at 11 o'clock. And, I hit refresh on the page, and then I just started scrolling down. I was like, jazz. And I was like, yeah, here I am.
Nice. Your drumming is known for its precision, groove, and musicality. How did you develop, and how do you continue to develop your unique sound?
I like that question. So I started out in, drumming in a way where a lot of people in church would, understand it, which is, first of all, everyone's a drummer in church, right? Like for the most part. And so you could either play functional drumming or you could be really into it. And, but everybody, there's like no shortage for the most part, at least at my church, of drummers. So I had to understand what it was that I did different, understand how I support the music. And I had to learn very quickly that, money helps to make the world go round. And so we didn't have a lot to get all of the DVDs and to get all the special things. And so my dad challenged me actually to make the most of the little that we had, which was to listen to the albums that we had and to make them work for me, use my creativity and try to translate these things into something different and lean into my sound. And so for a while, I was imitating drummers. I was imitating sounds because I could use my ears and follow along. And I was challenged, from a variety of mentors to basically figure out what Larnell's sound is, which it's always been there because it's my interpretation of music. And I was using the guides of all of these drummers, including my top 5. But the way I say I would have worked on that was to really ask myself, when I hear something, one, can I do it? Number one. Number two, what would I do different about it? What would I change about it? Right? Would I, if it's a drum fill that's da 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 da, would I do 2 hits on the snare, da da da, right, and go to the foot drum? Would I go 1 hit on the snare, da da da? Would I go only drums, da da da? Right now, I have options, and then I think what it is I like to call sound or somebody's sound and style their musical opinion. Right. So after doing a lot of that and researching things, just developing my musical opinion was the way that I was able to consistently level up, the sound that people hear today and can recognize, through consistency, ultimately.
Yeah. How do you approach improvisation in a live setting?
I approach improv in a live setting first by telling myself to relax and just work with the first thing that comes to your mind. Because there are so many options and so many things, but the artistry is really in what you do with the thing that you've selected. It is, so there's more power in the way you manipulate what you've selected than just what you've selected. Like you think about a chef, right? And they're on these shows, and if it's Top Chef or whatever it is.
Hey, that's one of my favorite shows, by the way. And I don't know if you watch it, but the most recent season was filmed in Toronto.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so if you catch it, they just started the new season, was filmed in Toronto.
I love that. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Yeah.
but they get, if I'm remembering the gist of the show, is that there are times where they all get the same, items and ingredients in some situations to work with. So again, the special thing is, how do you, like, what do you do? What does your creativity say, to do with these things? And so in a live setting, before I hit the moment, I just say, relax, slow down, blank mind as much as I can.
Mhm.
And the first thing that comes to mind, I'll use it, I'll develop it. And then from there, I'll just continue to add to it, take away from it, exchange it for something else, and really just develop a story.
Your music incorporates jazz, gospel, funk, and fusion. How do you navigate and blend these genres in your playing and your writing?
Added to that list is Afro-Caribbean and Afro-Brazilian,
Yes.
for sure, especially being represented on this last record. And the way that I go about fusing those together and kind of having them represented is really, growing up in church, my understanding and development of harmony was expanded, because when you listen to gospel music, especially from the 90s, like a James Hall or Hezekiah Walker or Marvin Sapp or,
Yeah.
Kim Burrell,
Yeah.
it's really advanced harmony that's happening. And so if you hear this stuff and it's like nursery rhymes to you, like you make the most of all of it. And so I decided that I was going to take harmonic elements that felt good to me and really laid the foundation of what I wanted. So there's a melody, right, which is typically something I can sing or whistle, or I feel has like a really nice cadence to it. I support it with the harmonic experience that I've grown up with. And then rhythmically, it's really about, where do I want this to fit? Because at that point, you can change the arrangement just by changing the groove underneath. And then that gives you like a whole bunch of new information. And so being a multi-instrumentalist, I have the ability to trial a few things and, see what this feels like as a samba, see what this feels like as something that's more straight ahead, see what this feels like as like more of like a Prince funk, kind of thing, or like P-funk if I wanted to go that route, or James Brown. Like I can move around quite a bit, which is really cool. So yeah, just really testing the waters, and then ultimately just surveying the way that I feel in my body and asking myself, like, does this allow like that straight through experience of like that feeling of like my soul gets to go forward as opposed to feeling a resistance.
Building on what you just shared with us, how important is emotion and storytelling when you play drums or compose music?
Oh my gosh. I mean, storytelling and, identifying an emotion through like that stream of emotions that you might feel in any given moment is it's so important, because I feel like there's a moment of relatability that people can feel from music, and using, the idea of storytelling, or the structure of storytelling, or the elements of storytelling, and scraping from stories that people know and understanding how it makes me feel at any given moment in a story. I could then represent that musically in a variety of ways, and just lean on whatever structure that I'm building from, again, whatever I've scraped off of like a movie or another song or a conversation. If the conversation is going back and forth really aggressively, I can figure out musically how to represent that and again express that a particular way.
You're also a respected educator. What do you think is the most important lesson for musicians to learn?
Wow. I would say the most important is hard. I'll give you two. Listening. Listening is one of the biggest things that I think musicians can learn from, in terms of what it takes to listen, what it takes to communicate that you are listening, what you gain from listening, what you need to do for your ego, right, in order to be able to listen, what it requires of you in your pacing of thought and registering the information you're hearing when you are listening, And you gain so much more when you can take a beat, take a pause, and take in the information without needing to like put stuff out there right away. And then the other one is to speak, is to actually put your stuff out there. And the reason why I say that one in particular is because as an artist, you deal with this battle. Sometimes it looks like imposter syndrome. Sometimes it looks like self-doubt. Sometimes it looks like, a variety of things. And after a while, I realized that it wasn't about perfecting this one thing all the time, but it was really about believing in the thing that I was saying when it was time to say it. And so figuring out how to just put myself out there musically, how to play what's on my heart and my mind, or say what's on my heart and my mind, and learning to let it go and release it. I think those two things are pretty important. So the idea of like knowing how to pause and take in information, and knowing how to also put information out, just ultimately communication generally,
How do you help your students overcome those challenges?
When I'm working with students, the first thing I do is to help them understand that their musical ideas are valid. And, because we can pause and say, this is not worthy. This idea is not good enough. So what happens? You don't say anything, right? Like you end up putting yourself on mute, and you spend more time muting, diminishing, like suppressing everything that comes up. But what music is expression. So you should actually be learning how to shape and form the things that do come up at the rate that they do come up. And you don't give yourself a chance to really grasp that if you're not working on your output. You can take in information, but at the end of the day, right, there's got to be ins and outs, checks and balances. The environment cleans itself like that. It's all cyclical, so you can't be taking it in. So validating their musical ideas for sure, and allowing them to hear them. And the way that I do that is we do an exercise where we are trading back and forth. So we'll play a groove, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and they'll play for 4 bars anything that they want to improvise. I will then play another 4 bars after them in response, but I'll start using the musical ideas that they presented, right? So by doing that, I feel like they could start to see that the content in its smallest form can be morphed into something that's really cool. And so they just need to start feeling like, oh my gosh, like this core idea, it might not be fully developed, but I'm seeing this core idea take shape and turn into something really cool. Now I know where I can start.
With so many drummers learning online today, how do you think social media and digital platforms have changed the way musicians develop?
Oh, we're going there. Okay. Well, I feel like, okay, so earlier I mentioned access, right? Access, what does access do? Access kind of helps to develop your mind and helps to in some cases reframe your boundaries, right? Your understanding of your limitations, or what is and is not possible. And the access to be able to view and see what is possible on the internet with your instrument is at an all-time high. And it's not just for a select few people. It's really anybody with an internet connection who has a camera that can post what they're doing and really show what it is. So it completely levels the playing field in terms of people feeling like there's an untouchable level. So to me, now you can start seeing, oh, like a lot more people are into this thing. I think it also helps because you can find your community a little bit faster now, so like-minded people, the people who are really digging what you're doing, or you dig what they're doing, you could DM them right quick and just get into it and talk about it and start to develop a relationship. So there are pluses and minuses to it, but if I were to focus on the positives, I would say you can develop yourself in a really interesting way. However, it is no replacement for being in the kitchen when the aunties are cooking. And what that means to me is, and you'll probably know what this is,
I
right?
got you. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you.
It's like, okay, for those that don't know, there are particular cultures where a cookbook does not exist. And there
No.
might be cookbooks out there, but if you've been eating the same food from, an auntie or a mom or a grandma, or a dad or uncle or
100%.
a grandpa, right?
100%.
It's like that recipe is not written down. It is felt 100%, but it's relatively consistent because that if you're feeling for that thing and you ask that person to make it, you're going to get a version of that. So, not, let me backtrack a little bit because I'm getting a little too excited. So
It's all right.
I live with my mother-in-law. Okay. She's been incredible, especially with our children. It's a great experience because they can actually be with the person who raised their mom and get to see so much more of that dynamic and just creates a really beautiful experience, And so one thing that's interesting is she'll be cooking and making something and I'll be in the kitchen. I'm like, so what's up with that? Like, why? How much did you put in that? She's like, you're asking me too many questions. You're talking about science now. I don't know. I just put it in there. But if you think about it, right, like any other culture, if you really want to get inside and understand the culture and understand that situation and what is it doing, you got to be in place. You got to be there when they're doing it because that's how they pass this stuff down. So yes, there could be a camera in the kitchen and you could be watching, right? But you don't know if it changed because of the temperature in the room. You don't know if the food is a little spicier today because they saw something on the news. You don't know what's affecting what's happening. So being in the space is so important. So yes, you can get information. Yes, you have access. Yes, you can find a community. But also being in person allows you to understand things like how loud is a drummer actually playing in a venue, right? How are they managing their volume? How do they push the music with that particular audience? How do they actually hit the drum? There's all these little things that you can assume them from online, but if you're in the space, nuances, you get it just in your soul so deep, which is again, back to what I learned from that experience with my family.
Fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to share from your heart? Because, you've got a career, you've got family life, personal well-being, maintain your creative energy. How does the fatherhood come in to all of that?
The first thing I'll say is the idea of being a child's world is such an understated perspective, you are their world. Literally, your bad day could be their bad day, right? Your good day could be their good day. Your smile can validate a thought they have. There's so much about shaping their reality that, if you're not careful in terms of paying attention to yourself and the way that you show up, you could be triggering things that you don't intend to trigger, and things could be moving a certain way. So I got 3 kids, 7, 5, and 8.5 months. And, besides that understanding, time management is key. Having family, friends, and caregivers available is key. And also remembering for me and my wife, why we started our family. It's not just a desire, we want kids, but when you think about building this thing, for us, it's through love. It's a reflection of the love that we have for each other, the love we have for ourselves, and really continuing to build on that as the core generator of this entire operation, so to speak. Just coming back to it as often as we can, because that purpose, that point and purpose, can get lost in the sauce because diapers, hospital visits, going to school, bullying.
The stuff that many of your fans don't see.
Oh man, it's like I didn't want the green Legos, I wanted the pink ones. Like it's just like, and then just the change and and sleep as well. Man, y'all get some sleep. Like it's like it is so important.
It's all
eat
good.
well too. Just take care of yourselves. It will really, really, really pay dividends for you and your family.
The album Slice of Life. What does it mean to you professionally and personally?
Professionally, it is just a snippet or a snapshot of where I am. Personally, it's a letter to my future self to say, hey, this is where you were in that time period. Remember that you got through this.
Okay, good stuff. What's next for you?
Okay, what's next for me? Is it the right date to mention this? Tickets go on sale in maybe 4 days. So if you're looking for something to do and you feel like coming to Toronto, there is an area called the Harbourfront, and there's a festival called Luminato, and I am the musical director and producer and arranger of a show in honor of Quincy Jones.
Wow.
Happening on Friday, June 13th.
Wow.
At the Harbourfront Center, which is the outdoor stage. So we've been working on that, which has been incredible.
By the way, you're more than welcome to come close to the day that and talk about it.
I'd love to. That'd be incredible.
More than happy. Absolutely.
Nice. And while y'all got your calendars out, if you're in the Christmas spirit, December the 18th at Lula Lounge, we will be remounting our Christmas show called the Caribbean Christmas Mixtape, which looks like this.
Nice.
So, those are the things that we have on deck with a bunch of other stuff
going on
in the middle,
All right.
My last thing I'll say is my wife is an incredible steel pan player, and so we have quite a few shows with her as well. So
all right.
look out.
A few last things. Frankie's Event Promo says, would love to start something in Toronto with live musicians creating space for Toronto talent to be spotlighted. Something like Star Search.
Oh, yeah.
And he also says, does Larnell live in Toronto?
I live just outside of Toronto, yes.
There you go. Last conversation piece. What do you hope your musical legacy will be, and what impact do you want to leave on future generations of musicians?
The impact that I want to leave or have on future musicians is one where they are reminded that their ideas are valid, but they need to be disciplined and put the work in, and they need to be considerate of others in the space because we are all sharing this life experience. So that's the first thing. And if I remembered your first point, can you remind me of your first part of your question?
Yeah, the first part. What do you hope your musical legacy will be, and what impact do you want to leave on future generations of musicians?
So really the legacy for me to leave behind, which was always a story of or a reminder letter to myself, is just to dream big. Dream big and allow your dreams and your ideas to fuel your progress.
I'm going to add one other quick thing. What do you want your legacy as a father to be?
Love.
That's it. Beautiful ending. My man, this has been an epic conversation. I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
And I have a feeling we are going to communicate more to come. Is the best way to get hold of you through Instagram?
Instagram, you mean like for people checking me out?
Yeah.
Instagram is definitely the place where I put a lot of thought. Good. There, you can see my memes. if you want to see what kind of person I am. And you can find me on the other platforms as well. Blue Sky being the latest one.
Yes.
But yeah, you can find me Instagram, YouTube.
All right.
The whole bit.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say it's an absolute pleasure getting a chance to hang out with you a little bit, and I appreciate your time and all you have done, are done, and will be doing when it comes to music and fatherhood.
Thank you so much, man. It's been great. Thank you.
So as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and always make it better. Excellent. Thank you. All right. That was an epic conversation, family. Wasn't that good? That was really good. I really enjoyed him sharing. And again, if you want to catch him, the best place to start is Larnell Lewis Music, at Larnell Lewis Music on Instagram. All right. As we close it out, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of my platforms, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And if you want to catch replays of my epic conversations, the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. And I should also say, you can get a hold of me. Website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at The Dr. Vibe Show, X, drvibeshow, just drvibeshow, and email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And you can also catch me on Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. We always finish off with this: live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And also, if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And then finally, make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good. Wow.
Yep.
I feel like I'm in class with Dr. Alicia. That's a class I wouldn't skip. There's some other ones I'd like to skip, but I'm glad I'm not skipping this class tonight. So I am hoping you're catching this live, but if not, certainly catch it on the replay, because this is good stuff that Joe is laying down here. I want to get ready. When I saw this today, I said one word: "Aya!"
Did you really?
No. I felt like it's an incredible document that I'm going to suggest that you take and use as a lecture piece wherever you want to go.